Hi, what's up? It's pretty safe to say that Ermes has the strongest riser in the world right now. But despite that, Levan Saginashvili completely dumped his wrist and made it look easy. So how is that even possible? And do you remember a few years ago when Matt Mask and Devin Larratt talked about a certain weak point in Ermes' hand? That conversation might actually explain a lot of what we saw. A lot of people assume that in a top row versus top row situation, the stronger riser wins. And while that is partially true, it is not the full picture. You're not just fighting riser versus riser, you're also fighting to contain your opponent's riser with your own high cup strength. Now Ermes does have world-class cupping power, but there is an important distinction that is often overlooked. There are actually two main muscles responsible for wrist flexion in arm wrestling. The flexor carpi ulnaris, which we'll call the low wrist flexor, and flexor carpi radialis, or the high wrist flexor. Both of these bend the wrist, but in different ways. The low wrist flexor also pulls your hand downwards, while the high wrist flexor pulls your hand upwards and also pronates a little bit. Most people naturally develop the low wrist flexor more because it shows up in regular wrist curls and it is also the stronger muscle of the two. But in arm wrestling, specifically in top rolling, not developing your high wrist flexor can lead to a serious weakness. So how do you target this high wrist flexor? The number one tool is the multi-spinner. When wrapped high around the handle, it isolates the high cup movement, combining wrist rise, pronation and that specific kind of a wrist curl that we need. This is of course one of Devin Larratt's bread and butter exercises, and for good reason. After facing and being defeated by Devin, Ermes started incorporating some of Devin Larratt's belt lifts like pronation and rising, but oddly, I've never seen him use a multi-spinner. And that might be a key hole in his game. I believe Ermes could significantly improve his ability to apply high cupping pressure through his top two fingers, especially against opponents with elite risers, if he incorporated some high cup multi-spinner work. But even if Ermes improved in this regard, there is still the bigger issue: Levan's massive hand size. This is something people often overlook. Even if Ermes is stronger in every single specific arm wrestling lift, that still doesn't mean that he will gain hand control on the table. Why? Because they are not using the same handle in the match. Levan wraps his giant hand around Ermes like it's nothing. He's gripping something small and comfortable. Meanwhile, Ermes is forced to deal with a massive and awkward handle that he can't even get his fingers around. That changes everything. Levan is able to use probably close to 100% of his hand and especially rising strength, while Ermes might be limited to 50, simply because of the geometry of their grip. And this is why hand size matters so much at the elite level. So unless you've got a Levan-sized hand yourself, beating him in a riser war might be a lost cause. Ironically, the better strategy might be the one that Ermes originally used in their first match, fully committing to keeping your pronation and your arm angle tight, while almost ignoring the riser and wrist battle altogether. Because maybe if you can't fight the hand, the solution is to go around it. So let me know what you think. Is Ermes' high cup the missing link, or is Levan's hand just too overwhelming for anybody without at least similar leverage? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and thank you for watching.